Hello YouTube, this is TAKEOVER 667, and we are back for Season 7 of the BBR. Last season didn't really go our way. We struggled in the beginning, kind of had a little bit of a turnaround midway, and unfortunately the turnaround was a little bit too late and we were unable to make playoffs. This season though, we're hoping it goes a little bit different. This season I would love to just make playoffs and go on from there. I feel like I could definitely do it. I know I have the skills to do it, so we're just gonna go in and do our best here. But going into what we're drafting though, starting out, I believe, like 7th or 8th pick or something like that. I was like smack dab in the middle of the draft here. I don't like middle of the draft position, but fortunately, with the new DLC, there was a bunch of new mons, so new mon syndrome kind of went in, so I was able to snag myself a good old Iron Valiant. Now, I love Iron Valiant. Now, I don't think it's the best mon available at the time I was picking, but I've already used Great Tusk a couple times. I've never gotten to use Iron Valiant, so I really wanted to try it out, have some fun with it, so that's why we're taking it over the Great Tusk that was also available. But it's a great mon, amazing fairy type, amazing typing overall. Fairy fighting is huge. You can work both defensively and offensively, which is amazing. Takes on the steel types that fairies don't like. The biggest issue being like poison types, but at least fighting is able to resist, so it is okay. So with that, next pick we got Hisui Samurai. Once again, it was a mon I've never used before. I know Iron Valiant loves having spikes up, so getting a mon that can like get spikes up without being worried about being taunted is huge. So I wanted to get Hisui Samurai just because A, I've never used it before, and B, I can get spikes up at like any time just by clicking Ceaseless Edge over having to like click spikes and possibly getting taunted or getting magic crowns or that sort of thing. So having a mod that I can not worry about being taunted and still being able to get hazards up, I thought would be huge, especially for Iron Valiant in the back, so that's why I got Hisui Samurai. Also, Hisui Samurai with Sharpness just hits like a truck, so having this mod, it could be Scarf, it could be Banded, it could be a bunch of different sets, so I'm very excited to use it here. Next up, we ended up getting Dragonite. So, what this, I thought this was lacking. So, Iron Valiant's best sets are usually like the special sets, because it just has a much better move pool on the special side than it really does on the physical side. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get a physical breaker to kind of help out with Iron Valiant versus a lot like the special walls it could be facing. So what I did was I ended up drafting Dragonite. Dragonite is an amazing breaker, even if it cannot Terra, since we were doing low tier Terra, and Dragonite would be Terra banned anyways, but since it can't Terra, it isn't as like powerful as like just spamming Terra normal choice banded stream speeds, but it's still very powerful on its own without Terra. It can run a lot of different sets. It doesn't just need to be physical. It can be special. It can be like a support bulky set. It could be like an agility set, Dragon Dance, that sort of thing. It gets a lot of different moves I can just utilize, and I love Dragonite for that. So next up, we end up getting Metagross. So big issue I realized is I have no good ice checks and I have no good fairy checks. So what can take on both of them other than Metagross? So once again, if falling into the this mon got a bunch of new moves, it got Stone Edge, it got Knockoff, it got a Psychic Fang, so it is a little bit better now than it was in previous generations, though Power Creep may still kind of keep it like around the same range, I would say, but getting like Knockoff and Psychic Fangs, those sort of moves really helps out Metagross. Also, it still has access to Meteor Mash, Bullet Punch, it even still has rocks and whatnot, so I now have 2 mons that can set hazards for my team, and it's just overall great defensive pivot, good offensive mon as well. It can once again be run in many different ways, still has access to agility, so if I want to be cheeky with the agility weakness policy sets I can. Also good screen support, so overall great mon to really like help out on like my fairy and my ice weakness. Next up, we ended up getting Sandy Shocks. So I didn't want to just have to be running Stealth Rocks for Metagross every single week, so getting Sandy Shocks really helps with that. Also, the fact that we have Hisui Samurai means I don't have to run double hazard Sandy Shocks all the time. I can run dual screen support. I can run more offensive, like Sandy Shock with like 3 attacks, because it really only gets 3 attacks. Yeah, no one's ever going to pop up with like a tri-attack Sandy Shocks here. It's literally electric move, earth power, power gem. That is Sandy Shock's attacking moves there. So we'll be like, it could be running that set, that sort of thing. So not having to run spikes every week does free it up with other sets as well. And I can still run spikes. I can have dual spike support in case like one of my mons go down early. I can still have ways to get them hazards. So I do love Sandy Shocks. It's a mon I've used a lot, a mon I'm comfortable with. As like my first 4 mons are like mons I'm not really comfortable with in this meta, as I've never used any of them in this meta before. So I'm excited to get something a little bit more simpler that I can use. Next up, we end up getting Zarude. So originally the pick was going to be Rillaboom as like a grass type that can just like a grass type pivot pretty much, so I can take on the bulky waters and I can pivot out, U-turn out into like my threats like Iron Valiant or Hisui Samurai or Dragonite, Metagross. So unfortunately Rillaboom was taken quite literally right after Sandy Shock, so I did end up getting Zarude instead. Zarude is no slouch either way. Getting access to knock off the Shin is huge for it. It's now able to remove items, so it's not just completely walled just by item mons. They could get rid of your leftovers, get rid of boots, just pivot out. Overall, very much like an annoying threat for most teams. It still has access to stuff like bulk up and synthesis, so it does have a reliable healing going for it as well. Its biggest issue, of course, is just that 4 times weakness to U-turn and other bug moves, mostly U-turn, so that does have to be something I will have to watch out for. But I do have like a Dragonite, I do have a Iron Valiant as well, so like I'm not really too worried about having to face bug types here. Next up, we have HISUIAN Typhlosion. So I got all my hazard support. I wanted a mon that can just stop hazards from just being spun away freely versus my team. So I ended up getting HISUIAN Typhlosion. Also a good fire type as well, as I still like kind of struggle, just like even like breaking through grass types, funnily enough, as like Dragonite's best way to hit grass type isn't that amazing. So having ways to like break through grass types as well is helpful. And it's just, I love its signature move, Infernal Parade. It has a chance to burn, and it acts like Hex, where it doubles power once a mon is status, so it is just a better Hex for it. And once again, I love it as like it's like it can hit really hard on the special side. Even with like its like base 109 special attack, you can still hit pretty hard with it. Just like fire type in general is just a really good offensive typing. So having it, getting HISUIAN Typhlosion, being able to block rapid spin while hitting really hard back is, I think, really good for this team. Next up, we got Toedscruel. So at this point, I was realizing, okay, I got all these hazards for me, but I have no way to remove hazards from my side. So it kind of just, we end up grabbing Toedscruel. Now, as Toedscruel as overall mon, it's not the best. It does have a terrible ability in Mycelium Might. I don't think that the caveat of being able to ignore other mon's abilities, such as like Overcoat or Magic Bounce for status moves, really makes up for the fact that it puts you in a minus for the priority bracket, which is terrible, as this mon's typing is awful, as is not being able to take on ice types, not really going to be able to take on water types that well. It's I'm spending time trashing why I selected this mon. So it's a grass type. It can take on it's a secondary grass type, so I still struggle with ground types a little bit, as like a lot of my mons are weak to it, so I didn't want Zarude to be like all alone and handling them, so I ended up getting Toedscruel as well. Offensively speaking, Toedscruel does have good base speed of 100. It can still hit pretty hard, like dual stab of Earth Power and Giga Drain or Leaf Storm, so it's not a slouch in that regard. It does get access to Spore, so if I can like catch something on the switch out, I can Spore it. I believe it does have knockoff as well, so another way to get rid of like boots or whatever for my hazard stacking team. So like, it's not a slouch per se, but it's not exactly the best mon to grab here, but overall we still get a good spinner, and we still have ways to like, if we want to run spikes, we can run spikes. we run spore, we can run spore, that sort of thing. So it is going to force spread by the way. Next up is my Terramon. So over here, I was stuck between Terra, Braviary, Hisui, as well as Terra, Yanmega. Now Yanmega was taken literally, I think, just the round before, so it just made up my mind for me. So I ended up getting Hisui and Braviary. For the typings, we went flying, and then I was discussing with Darkrai for what the secondary typing, Terra typing should be for Hisui and Braviary. And I was like, maybe I should be like ground, or I should be water or something like that. Just like ways to like take on the electric and rock type. It's like, why not be electric? I'm like, what? And so he gave an amazing explanation for it. I'm not going to spoil it because I do want to kind of bring Terra Electric a couple times as I looked at my matchup, so I'm not going to spoil why Terra Electric is so good with Hisui and Braviary, but it is there. Hisui and Braviary gets amazing abilities, Sheer Force and Tinted Lens. 2 amazing abilities, as well as like a way to boost speed with Esper Wing, which is huge. So it is kind of slow at first, but like it can start getting really fast real quickly just with spamming Esper Wings. Next thing you know is it's outspeeding your Chien Pal all of a sudden, and you're like, whoa, this thing's gonna kill me. Like, yep, it is, because it still hits like a truck. As you have noticed, I am drafting HISUIAN Mons, so I have taught my Mons to instead of attacking the Pokemon, we're going to go full Legends Arceus, and we're attacking the player instead. So you better watch out. It's coming for you. It's not here to worry about your Mons. You should be worried about yourself. Alright, next pick, we end up getting Bear. Now, I love Bear. I still think it's criminally under-tiered. I think it is amazing. It's the ability to have a Violite with it gets Guts ability as well. It has Trailblaze, you can run rest sets. You can run just Flame Orb, just like I'm going to destroy you, Physical Breaker type of sets. Run like Swords Dance, Physical Sweepers type of sets. This thing, it can also, like with the Violet, it can be very bulky, really hard to take out, and just overall, just a nuisance for other opponents. So I'm very happy to be able to get this Mon again. I love me some Bear. We're going to have that Bear thumbnail come back again. I know Kirby's excited for it. Alright, and then with the final Mon, we got the Grounded Poison. Now, Swallow sucks. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. This Mon is not good. But it is a Grounded Poison. It gets access to T-Spikes. And it also gets access to Toxic. One of the few Mons that still has access to Toxic here. So, it has its uses. It will come a couple of times just to ward off T-Spikes. And just to like prevent my opponent from like toxicking me down all of my Mons. So, even though it is a little awkward, it is slow, it is not that bulky for how slow it is. It should be a lot bulkier. Game Freak, please buff my boy Swallow. He's been kind of bad since Gen 3. He deserves to be better. So yeah, we got my boy Swallow. He is just the Grounded Poison type that we need. He's not the hero we want, but he is the hero we need. Alright, so that is the squad. Hopefully, we can go in, get a few dubs here and there, you know, maybe make playoffs, maybe make some noise in playoffs. I do need to get my Wi-Fi King title back. I've kind of lost it over the past couple leagues I've done. I haven't really been doing much Wi-Fi since. So I do want to go in, have some fun, hopefully get some wins, and make y'all proud. Also, before I go, I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who's subscribed to this channel. I really appreciate it. We've hit 100 subscribers over this past week. So I want to thank you all so much for doing that. It really means a lot to me getting the century mark like this. I remember when I first started doing Draft League 10 years ago now. I remember like seeing like all my favorite like PokeTubers doing Draft League for the first time. It's like, wow, this is so cool. Like maybe I will do this one day. So it's definitely not like something I'm like it's not gonna be like my career or anything, of course, but it is really cool to see like 100 subscribers on the channel. It means a lot. Hopefully we can keep going. Maybe we can even hit 500 at some point. So when we do that, I might do something a little special for everyone. So thank you all so much for watching. and I'll catch you all next week. Peace.